Okay, at 6 p.m., we're going to call the meeting to order for the April 15th, 2026 regular meeting of the Atherton City Council. Stand and allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag to the republic, stands one nation.
Do the roll call. Councilmember Lane,
Here.
Councilmember
Yep.
Whitmer, Councilmember Lewis,
Here.
Vice Mayor DeGolia,
Yes.
and I'll note for the record that the Mayor Holland has an excused absence.
Okay, and with this meeting tonight, we are going to be very efficient. So I would appreciate it if everyone keeps their comments the minimum that they need to express themselves. The first item on the agenda is a proclamation on the recommendation and commendation of Atherton Police dispatchers.
And I will take your comments seriously and be very brief. That. Maybe that's better. Oh, it is. So very briefly, and thank you for tonight, in recognition of Atherton's public safety communications personnel, each year, the second week of April, which we're in, is dedicated to these personnel. And whereas the City Council and the town of Atherton would like to declare National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, which has been set aside so everyone can be made aware of their hard work and dedication, which they do work very hardly. And I know our residents very much appreciate them. It is witness thereof that I, hereinto my hand, and cause the seal of Atherton to be affixed the 16th day of April, 2026. Stacy Holland, Mayor. Thank you.
Very much. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the introduction of our Public Works Management Analyst, Alberto Espinosa.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of the council. You took my thunder, but that's all right. I'm happy to introduce you to the newest member of the Public Works team, Alberto Espinosa, who joined us last month. So he comes to us from the city of Belmont, where he's been a management analyst there for the past 7 years. And prior to that, spent some time with the State Department of General Services and the city of Linwood, also as an analyst. And so he's got some experience. He lives locally, so just north of town, and so is really close by. It's great to have somebody that doesn't have to commute too far to come to work. While not at work, Alberto enjoys playing tennis, hiking, as well as traveling. And he also spends some time as an adjunct online instructor for CSM, introducing folks to public administration. And so currently, Alberto is getting his feet wet, helping us pull together the capital improvement program budget, which will be coming forward to you at the beginning of next month for a discussion. And he'll be assisting us with a variety of tasks, including helping us process contracts and manage contracts, as well as help us improve programs and procedures and processes and stuff like that. So with that, this is Alberto. So welcome.
Welcome,
Welcome,
Alberto.
Alberto.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
You're gonna love it
We
here.
look forward to getting to know you.
Okay.
And the next item on the agenda is a presentation on SB Local Investment Plan from
60.
Harley Chen.
63.
Right.
Yes, thank you. So good evening, Vice Mayor DeGolia and members of the City Council. Thank you for allowing us to present today. My name is Charles C. Chang. I'm a Government and Community Affairs Officer with the San Mateo County Transit District, also known as SamTrans, and I'm here to share an update and seek your feedback about a potential revenue measure which could be on the November 2026 ballot. And if it makes it, we're sharing information for what it could mean for the county and how you and community members could engage in the process. So here's the agenda. We have information on the ballot measure as a whole, but we're really going to be focusing on San Mateo County. So next slide, please. I'm going to start off by giving a snapshot about SamTrans, who we are and who we serve. We provide bus and paratransit service here in San Mateo County. It's an essential service for people to get to work, school, home, medical appointments, and other destinations. You can see some of the bullet points here about our service. It is also our 50-year anniversary this year. Our riders really depend on us, and I want to emphasize that. 94% are low income, 80% do not drive or own a car for a variety of reasons. So next slide, please. So the transit agencies that carry millions of people throughout the Bay Area are facing major operational deficits. These agencies are sharing with the public this reality and a few reasons for why that is, which you can see on this slide. You'll be hearing from other transit agencies about how the ballot measure, if successful, could help them stabilize and maintain their service levels, but that's not the focus of the presentation today. We're really talking about the local revenue and kind of the return to source part of it. So next slide, please. So Connect Bay Area, some background on the ballot measure. There is state legislation that passed last year called SB 63, the Connect Bay Area Act. It may reach the November ballot via Citizens Initiative, and there's a signature gathering effort underway now. It would require 50% plus one of total votes in 5 counties to pass: San Mateo, San Francisco, Santa Clara, Alameda, and Contra Costa. If it makes the ballot, voters will decide if they approve a half-cent sales tax for 14 years, and in San Francisco, it's a full cent. It would provide nearly $1 billion to transit in the Bay Area, and about 63% of that funding would go to preventing major service cuts on Caltrain, BART, Muni, AC Transit, SF Bay Ferry, and some other smaller agencies. In San Mateo County, there would also be locally administered funds for local transportation improvements. So in that 33% for San Mateo County specifically, it's about $50 million a year. Next slide, please. So what does that mean for San Mateo County? So for that $50 million, there are some limitations on the funds. They have to be used for public transit in one way, shape, or form, and we need your input and the community's input to understand the priorities. So the purpose is to help our SamTrans board determine how that $50 million annually would be invested in San Mateo County. Next slide, please. So the good news is that even though the funds are limited to public transit, we have other ways of funding transportation projects here in San Mateo County. We have 2 half-cent sales taxes that fund transportation improvements, measures A and W, which you can see here, measure A on the left, measure W on the right. They are prescriptive, so voters have told us what to spend the money on, and measure A expires in 2033. And the San Mateo County Transportation Authority may be asking voters to renew the sales tax, most likely in 2028. There may be transportation projects that don't fit the Connect Bay Area ballot measure that could later be addressed in Measure A. So next slide, please. So for the SamTrans financial outlook, I wanted to provide a little bit more context. We're very fortunate in San Mateo County that our bus system is in a much stronger financial position than some of the other operators that have deficits of $75 million or $300 million. But starting in fiscal year 28, we do start to see an inflection point where expenditures are outpacing revenue. We do project an operating deficit that averages about $30 million per year over the next decade, but SamTrans, as I mentioned, we provide an essential service for many people, so we are watching this carefully and engaging in some cost-saving measures that we're doing proactively now. And we recognize we need to protect our essential bus service for our customers. So some of the cost-saving measures include reducing consultant use and cutting discretionary spending. So next slide, please. So the local investment plan. So how is SamTrans determining how to spend the money it would receive if the ballot measure qualifies and passes? We're putting together a local investment plan. We have pre-existing strategic planning documents to help us. We've done a huge amount of outreach in the past several years to understand our riders' priorities and the community's priorities, and our board has provided some guidance. We've also held 2 workshops for our stakeholder and agency advisory groups. So I wanted to thank your Associate Civil Engineer, Gabriela Ruiz, for attending workshop number 1, and Public Works Director Robert Ovadia for attending workshop number 2. Our stakeholder group includes business, nonprofit, labor, special districts, and other community groups. And we also wanted to thank you for giving us the opportunity tonight to present to the City Council and the community members watching tonight. We are conducting a public survey to gather input, and at the end of the day, our board will decide the plan for this money if the ballot measure qualifies and passes. Next slide, please. So this slide is taking all of our existing inputs. We have identified 10 categories for funding consideration. So here are the various categories we're surveying. They're on the slide. I don't need to read them, but they're also in the survey where people can rank them of the top 10, which ones they would like to rank in order. So these categories are based on past Samtrans work and planning projects, stakeholder and agency feedback, and the current work we're doing now. So we need to hear from people and to hear from you how to prioritize these various categories. We have an online survey available in multiple languages: English, Simplified Chinese, Spanish, and Tagalog. I've also left some of the physical surveys back in the back of the room, and they have QR codes where people can also take the survey and tear off portions that can be mailed back. Next slide, please. So we are doing engagement in a short timeline. We basically have 10 weeks. So through this process, we're listening and trying to develop this local investment plan for our board to adopt. There will be discussion at the Samtrans board meeting on the May 6th board meeting, and we invite you to participate or tune in. And the goal for board adoption is the June 3rd meeting. We're doing this now so that residents have information on how funds would be invested in locally if the ballot measure qualifies and passes. So next slide, please. So that's really the ask. We need your help. The survey closes April 30th, and we're working to get information out. Getting information sooner is better than later for us because it'll help shape the conversations we have. We've also given your staff a toolkit for social media, press, newsletters, asking to amplify this in your social media and your constituent newsletters. And I know you have your Earth Day coming up next Sunday, if that's a good place to leave some of the flyers as well. And please take the survey yourself. So the last slide, I believe, is really that we have a short presentation tonight, and we encourage you to get in touch with us to share your thoughts. The email address is listed below, and I really thank you again for having us tonight, and I can also follow up via email for questions or answers I might not have immediately tonight.
I have a question.
Questions or Joe? Joe already.
And-
So it would be nice if we would see the utilization, the trains as well as the buses. Down here at this part of the town, there's generally nobody on the buses. So it would be good to see how the buses are used. And then if everybody's paying the sales tax, why don't you consider, like other communities in other states, just making the buses free? That would increase your ridership and might get more support for it. Lastly, I did take your survey, and I feel that perhaps in addition to just giving us the 10 things you want us to vote for, if you had 15 and said pick 10, you might get some different input. When you only list the 10 things you want people to vote for, then obviously they're going to vote for those. And so it doesn't make any sense. So I thank you very much. If you can get us the utilization, that would be terrific.
Thank you. Did you mean by county, the different?
Yeah, for in our county, the buses, what buses and what routes, what's their utilization? And then the trains. I mean, when I've gone up to MTC and gone to meetings, when we've looked at the utilization of the trains that are used during, for the most part, during the commute times, generally are in the 80 to 90%. But after that, they're in like 5%, 6%, which means maybe we shouldn't be running them all.
Okay, but
That
this
would
isn't
save
on the
money.
trains. This is,
Well, some of the money's going to California.
if I can just bounce off that, your slide 3 says that there are 315 buses and 10 million annual boardings, which is an average of 31,000 annually boarding each of those 315 buses, which is somewhat surprising because when we look at buses coming down El Camino Real, if there are 5 people on the bus, that's a lot.
There are different ridership levels for different routes, and then there are certain areas that might have more ridership, so that it kind of evens out in that number. But
Yeah, that would probably be useful information, have a sense of that. Because our experience is that they're basically not used. And I'm impressed that 98.8% of the pre-pandemic ridership is the amount of ridership you have today. That's very interesting. It says the buses are really being used where they're being used. And that's quite different than the information we've gotten on the trains. So kind of interesting.
yeah, we had a really big Reimagine Samtrans effort where we did a lot of the changes to our routes based on customer feedback. And I think for some of the trains and for some of the heavy rail, it has the worker style and commutes are a little bit different where they might have a choice and option. So that has impacted their ridership recovery a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor. So thank you for your presentation. I am on the CCAG board, and I don't know if you heard that CCAG, there was a presentation by Emily, another lady, and it was about 40 minutes of our time. So I understand that you're trying to get this survey of people ranking 1 to 10, what they want most, finished. And so you could process it because you want to get it on the ballot for November. And it closes like May 3rd or something. Is that when you're having the survey close?
The survey closes April 30th, but there is also a section for people to provide other feedback.
Okay.
than the rate.
Yeah. So, and how many respondents do you have to date?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I think
The number that was thrown out by Emily and the other people was 100 for the entire county of San Mateo. 100 responses based on this little flyer or the online. You cannot, I see no way that by April 30th or May 3rd, or even extending it a little bit, that you're going to get a significant response from the residents of San Mateo County in order to effectively know what and how to spend the money that you're going to be taxing people on. So I find that, I don't know if got a slow start and, or it's just not resonating with people. I kind of agree with Councilmember Widmer about the survey and the 10 things that are here. To me, if I see 10 things that they want me to rank 1 to 10, highest to lowest of my choices, I find that really hard to do myself. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of it because I do believe, even though that there's a huge deficit in Samtrans and other public transportation utilities, I think that there is economy of if you manage it better. And I've heard and seen some numbers where they have cut costs and saving millions and multi-millions of dollars in cost savings. So I think that if it's better managed, rather than taxing us again. So that's kind of my position. And again, I just don't see where this survey is really going to be effective.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think that, well, it's not on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is a presentation from Peninsula Clean Energy.
Yes, it is.
On there.
I don't know.
It's on. Well, we didn't get the presentation in our pack, but
Oh, the presentation's right here.
yeah, right.
But it's not on the agenda.
Oh, it's on the one.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
Vice Mayor DeGolia, members of the council, Atherton staff, and members of the public, thank you very much for your time. I am not Sean Marshall, our CEO is listed on the agenda. Unfortunately, she has taken ill and is not able to make it today. I'm the Director of Energy Programs for Peninsula Clean Energy, and pleased to provide some background on Peninsula Clean Energy and the service to your community and beyond. First, as you are likely aware, council members are likely aware, but for the sake of members of the public who may be listening in, Peninsula Clean Energy is your community's not-for-profit electric service provider. We were founded in 2016 by the town of Atherton and unanimous vote of not only Atherton, but all the other cities in San Mateo County at that time. We provide the electricity generation services, which is to say the electrons that are provided to the service territory, which are then distributed through the poles and wires that are owned and operated by Pacific Gas and Electric, and customers receive a single bill to address both of those services, and we are able to provide the generation services at a discount relative to Pacific Gas and Electric. Next slide, please. Next. So as I noted, we have been in existence since 2016. Our mission is to provide cleaner power at lower rates, as well as invest in the community to advance clean energy. I was lucky to be here earlier for the ribbon cutting for the solar panels on this beautiful facility, which will generate savings for the town of approximately $900,000 over the course of 20 years. So we were pleased to be able to partner with the city to provide that system with no upfront cost. Next slide. We have, through the cleaner and power and lower rates that Peninsula Clean Energy provides, we have been able to deliver benefits in excess of $4 million of savings to Atherton residents and businesses. And in addition to that, across the entire service territory, savings in excess of $200 million. Our investments in the community to date are nearly $350,000 across bill credits, solar credits, rebates for cleaner and efficient appliances, EV charging, and the like. And as I noted earlier, of course, cleaner power, which reduces greenhouse gas pollution. Next slide, please. Now, our role began as primarily the energy service provider, as I noted earlier, and has grown over time to include a range of programs for investment in the community, really partnering with customers to advance more efficient appliances for both homes and businesses, and as I noted, EV charging and solar power. And that is a continued area of emphasis for the agency. Next slide. Looking ahead, we are continuing to provide discounts on our generation service, currently at 10% relative to PG&E's electric generation services. We are working to advance installation of EV chargers here at Atherton, as well as, of course, launching not only the program or delivering the program that has installed the solar panels on this facility, but later on this year, also a residential solar and storage program, which will be becoming available for your constituents. Next slide. And I want to flag here that along with the 10-year anniversary this year, Peninsula Clean Energy will be changing its name. This is on your agenda as a consent item to authorize the change in the Joint Powers Authority. We will become Westlight Energy, still the same organization, delivering the same services. And to be perfectly candid, one of the things that is motivating this change is we are frequently confused with PG&E. And it is not unusual for us to hear PC&E. And that confusion obviously is a challenge for us And we feel that this will be a step forward in terms of creating the kind of community awareness that is needed for Peninsula Clean Energy. Next slide. So our ask tonight is for approval of the JPA amendment reflecting the name change and to encourage your continued support in communicating with your constituents about Westlight Energy as we will become, and celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year with a number of events, including a number of events here at Atherton. Thank you for your time and happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Questions?
I have no questions.
Okay,
Didn't
thank
see
you very
her.
much.
Thank you.
Picture.
It doesn't,
Is it on our agenda?
that's on.
That
Wasn't included in the pack.
Okay, now is the time for any public comments on an issue that is not on the agenda.
We have the Atherton Youth Advisory Group first, and then we'll have Marjorie Ruiz following.
Great. Hi.
Hi, good evening, council members. Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Fiona Lempress. I go to Sacred Heart Prep.
My name's Sophie. I'm a junior at Menlo.
I'm Maya and I go to Menlo Atherton High School.
We would just like to talk a little bit about what we've done so far this year and what we'll be doing later this year. To further our mission of building community within the youth of Atherton, we hosted a final study session at the library in December. We had food and drinks and a special visit from Emmy the police dog. She was a really big hit. We had an amazing turnout and we will definitely be bringing this back this spring, a little bit into May for finals and AP season. More recently, on March 21st, we hosted our annual eco-friendly Easter egg hunt in Holbrook Palmer Park. It was a beautiful day with 2 rounds of hunt and we separated into 2 different age groups. We had the wooden eggs hidden throughout the grass for the younger kids, 0 to 2, and some other eggs hidden in the garden outside Jennings Pavilion for the kids 3 and up. We had a group of 11 volunteers who helped with the prize table where the kids exchanged their eggs at. Emmy the police dog made another appearance and she was a hit again. Next year, we look forward to growing to an even larger event. Looking forward, we're very excited to have a table at Earth Day this weekend, and we plan to show various ways for youth in our community to get involved with helping the environment and showing how we have remained eco-conscious with events like our egg hunt. We're also helping to organize the volunteers as well as looking for some new members at the event and spreading the word about our group. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen tonight. We really appreciate it. And do you all have any questions for us?
Work, though. Very good. It is good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your efforts.
See you in a couple weeks at the,
Yes.
Thank you.
Update. Is there any other public comments?
That's a hard act to follow.
Vice Mayor, City Council members, city staff. I am Marjorie Ruiz Hidalgo. I remain your local government affairs representative for PG&E. I'm so glad to see you here tonight. I'm actually here to spread the word about the Reported app, which is something that I am actually genuinely excited about to get out to the public, and I hope that you are too. So as you know, PG&E uses helicopters, drones, cameras, in addition to all of our in-person human patrols to keep everybody safe. But PG&E now has an added layer of safety. It's available on the Apple Store. It's available for Android. It's also available as a web desktop version. It has a very fancy name. It's PG&E Reported app. And so what it does is that it connects members of the public directly to the PG&E public safety team. So let's walk through an example. I am in Atherton. I see a tree that I'm a little concerned about, or maybe there's a vault I'm concerned about, anything PG&E related. I snap a picture. I submit it through the app to the PG&E public safety team. And the public safety team reaches out to that constituent, to that resident or customer, and says, hey, thank you for flagging. And then we walk through that, we walk with the customer all the way through to conclusion if it is indeed an area of concern for us. We also tell them if other people in the area have similar concerns and have reported it to PG&E. And the customer walks side by side with the public safety team all the way through to conclusion, can ask any questions. Please hear me. This is not a replacement for 911. If you see a downed service line, walk away, call 911. If you smell gas, run away, call 911. This is not a first responder service, but it is an added layer of safety that we're adding to our public safety toolkit. So we will continue using helicopters, drones. We will continue using EPSS settings on power lines during high heat seasons. We will continue patrolling lines, but now we also have a way to connect our customers directly to any areas of concern. And there is a team dedicated to this. So I'll say it one more time. This is the PG&E Reported app. It's available for Apple. It's available on Android, and it's available as a desktop version. And I hope that members of the public find it useful, because I'm very excited that your constituents have another way to connect to us directly.
Right. It's been out for a while.
Yes, but not many people in San Mateo County know about it. And so I have taken on by myself to do this for members of the public so that everyone is aware.
Well, maybe you sent it. I don't know.
That'd be
Sent me
great.
an email on it, but I've had it for a while.
I'm not surprised that you've had it, Councilmember Whitmer.
Okay.
I'm not surprised, but I will follow up and send it to Anthony, and I've been sending it around to everyone. I can also text it to you all directly.
Great.
So that as constituents come to you with any concerns, you can say, oh, have you tried this?
That's perfect.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is departmental monthly reports. Does any-
Disclosure.
Right next to my
Discarding.
shake.
Disclosure.
Yes, if anyone has any ex parte disclosure, now it's time to
I have none.
state it.
I have none.
I have none either.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, as I said, is departmental written report. Anyone have a comment on departmental written report?
No, but it's very interesting to read. And I
And it's
encourage
long.
anybody, any resident who wants to know what's going on and how hard our staff is working in the departmentals. You'll find it in the departmental reports. Lots of information.
Okay. Next item on the consent agenda. Oh, report out of closed session. We had a closed session. Mona would,
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. The council did meet in closed session on the annual performance evaluation of the city attorney and the city manager. There was no public comments in advance of meeting in closed session, and there's no reportable action.
thank you. The next item is the consent agenda. This is items 1 to 5. Does anyone on the council wish to pull consent agenda? Does anyone from the public wish to pull anything consent agenda? I have a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. I will open the public hearing. This is a public hearing regarding the use of military equipment pursuant to AB 481 by the Atherton.
Chief.
So just as a way of a bit of a history, in January and June of 2022, back in the police reform days, the legislature passed an Assembly Bill 481, which requires police departments to identify military equipment they have and then conduct an inventory each year, which we've been doing since 2022. And you have our analysis that shows the limited equipment that we have, the quantities that we have, and the training that goes with it, no related complaints. And that's my very basic report if you have any questions regarding it.
I have a question. In our staff report, was there an itemization of any military equipment that we have? I'm sorry if I missed it.
Yes, it's under the analysis section.
No, oh, it's right there. Okay. Of this, yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah, and it's very standard equipment that we've had as part of our inventory since I've been here, so almost 8, 9 years.
Okay. Any other comment or question? Any none? I'll Let's see if there's any public comment on this. Any public comment? I will close the hearing and we'll move on to item number 7.
We have to give you some direction or
Yeah, don't we have to vote
Oh,
on it?
is that an action item?
Yeah.
Sorry.
we have to post a report, we have to direct the staff to post a report, Government Code 772.
Want to make a motion to
I'll
that
move
effect?
that we direct staff to do that.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved, and now we'll move to number 7. Item number 7 is review of proposed modifications to the town's false alarm program administration and provide direction to staff regarding any changes.
All right, me again. So back to the topic of residential alarm monitoring and false alarms. After I started this position in 2017, it didn't take long to understand that first off, the value of the alarm system throughout town and the monitoring we do, but also related the significant impact it has to police operations and dispatch. There's over 2,500 parcels in town. We currently monitor as a basically free service about 1,500 of those residences, and the vast majority of those that we don't monitor also have an alarm system that still reports into dispatch. Annually, we receive 1,400 alarm calls. Dispatch, through their work and with our residents, they obtain information when we get the permit, which does allow them to contact the resident or the principal and try to mitigate or cancel that alarm. On average, we're not able to do that all the time, and we respond to about 900 alarms annually. That takes at least 2 officers to respond and at least 30, 45 minutes based on the size of the property. That equates to about $70,000 a year of expense. So in response to that, in 2018, we asked you and you approved a resolution which amended the fee schedule for repeat offenders as a way of education and mitigating. That also led into administrative impacts to dispatch and to finance. And you might be asking, why are we discussing this? I started this, and the reason I started this was an attempt to mitigate the false alarms. After years of doing this, and after years of continually dealing with the administrative impacts, we found no result. We found no reduction in false alarms. It remains consistent. And so on the advice of good suggestion of my commander, which is why I'm glad he's on board, is, why are we doing this to this level, and can we simplify it? And so that's why I'm here today before you as our recommendation. And I gave you 2 options. A, which is kind of continuing with the very complicated, convoluted system that we've had with some of the failures of follow-ups that we've had, and going with the recommendation of option B, which is a simplification, which would be to maintain a no-fee alarm permit registration with town renewal request, continue enforcement of the existing alarm fee schedule as established by your resolution, focus on targeted outreach to chronic false alarm locations rather than the broad administrative enforcement. I will say, typically annually, there's probably 10 to 12 residents that we would deem chronic and continue to work on. As a compliance mechanism, if the alarm system is monitored by the police department, we can stop alarm monitoring after notice to the residents of noncompliance for not obtaining a permit or chronic false alarms responses. You might be concerned that if we stop monitoring, is there a public safety issue? There always could be. But again, we monitor this closely. Year after year, we find that 99% of our alarm calls are false. So you might ask yourself, well, why are we responding at all? There's a lot of agencies across the country and some in this county that do not respond to alarm systems unless there's a verification of a break-in or some other crime. I think there's a lot of value for us to continue to do it. It allows us the opportunity to do outreach, to meet with the resident, to look at the situation and continue to try to resolve it. So I do think there is value for us to continue to do it. And as part of this recommendation, we will step up our efforts on outreach. We will have the officers provided information that they can then contact the residents if they're there. Most times they're not there, but we typically have the information where we can follow up. And if we don't have accurate information, we can attempt to obtain it so we can mitigate false alarms. And then the last recommendation is to discontinue what we're doing as a complex accelerated penalty structure tied to permit status due to the administrative burden that I mentioned and limited operational benefit. So we still will be monitoring. We will go to a no-fee permit. We will still follow up with first and second and third notices as needed. to gain compliance. And for those chronic violators, that's where we'll focus our attention with penalties and also with follow-up, which could lead to collections. We have not gone that far. But what we have found is for our chronic violators where they have been issued fines, they have not responded and there's been no effort to collect those fines, which makes the whole system kind of meaningless. So that is my presentation and I look forward to taking your questions.
Yeah, when we first talked about this, part of the problem wasn't just the false alarms and the number. It was that from time to time, people changed their phone numbers or their housekeepers or whoever was watching it. And so I applaud the no fee alarm permit registration, but I'm not sure that that's going to bring in any more documentation on the number, on the phone numbers and all that other stuff. So of everything else that I agree with everything else that you've listed here, but I just think that there needs to be some more proactive way to get people to fill out that permit registration so you have that information, the number you call to verify is right, or it doesn't go to Never Never Land and you don't know what to do. So
that's a good question. And so what we will be stepping up our efforts with the first notice, what we call the blue form is the form that residents fill out to update it. There'll be a second notice and there'll be a third. And in the third notice in the letter, it will say, if you're not going to comply with the permit and the requested information, a lot of our residents are very private. But when we do talk with them, they understand the importance of having, and we also illustrate to them how secure that information is kept. It's very confidential. Whoever accesses that information, if there was an issue, we can go back and find out who accessed it and why. Once we get over that hurdle, we find, a little more cooperative from our residents, but we will follow that up. And ultimately we would stop monitoring their alarm, which I think would get their attention is we don't want to do this, but if you're not going to provide this information to us, we can't go forward with monitoring your alarm for free.
So a follow-up question. At one time, there was a discussion at a previous council meeting that if they hadn't turned in the permit, that once they had, they're on their second or could be their third false alarm, I think you said the second, that the fee would kick in, and that, that might get their attention not only to fill in the permit, but also fix the problem. In your recommended solution, we're waiting till the 4th before you truly get people's attention by issuing them a $400 bill.
Correct.
So was there a reason for that change, or you just felt that that was?
It simplifies the process and maybe a little bit less punitive. And again, like you said, we're trying to get their attention.
All right, thank you.
I've got a couple of things. First of all, I appreciate the fact that it's much simpler because it sounded really complex before. So that's good. One thing that happens on most services that I have, including my bank account, is periodically they push me something on a website that says, hey, is this still valid? Is this still information valid? So might be able to come up with a way, but every 6 months that goes to them. So it's not a form, it's something, many people might have to have a form because they don't do stuff online, but it would be a type of thing where if you did it more regularly, they might get more compliance.
It's part of our outreach when, especially first of the year, we'll do a newsflash along with a letter that goes to all residents, whether they're monitored by us or not, to get that, try to continue to get information, and then we track those. And then again, if we don't get a response from the previous year's permit holders, then we reach out with a second notice and a third notice. The
other thing I was thinking about is whether you have any plans for having an ongoing communication where you just give sometimes people just don't know the numbers. I bet there aren't 20 people in town that know there are 900 false alarms or whatever. So if quarterly or every half year or whatever, you came out with something that would be going out to Georgia's communication that says, by the way, this month or during this quarter, there were 300 false alarms per month, and now it's down. So then people would see, one, that we're tracking it, and two, that you might be able to get people to pay attention a little bit closer just on the macro numbers.
It is included in our annual report that I'll be providing to you next month. Again, we try to push it out. It's difficult to try to, gauge who's reading it and how much.
Right.
but we do try to put it out periodically. Good suggestion.
All right, good. I like your annual reports, by the way. They're really good.
Elizabeth?
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for putting this together. I agree that we need to simplify, but I also feel that on an annual basis, at least on an annual basis, you send out a letter to everyone, say it's time to update your information for our alarm protection system. And, include the form that they can either put in an envelope and mail back or an email that they can do it. But they need to have a notice that it's time to update. And if you've gotten new phone numbers or new security numbers or new gate keys or something, people need to be reminded and that it's time to do this for your safety, however you're going to market it, for your safety and our ability to respond to you in an emergency. We need to have your updated and accurate contact information, which is highly secure and private with us.
And part of our community engagement outreach packet in December will just be just that, and announcing that it's time to renew your permits, the reasons why and the information you need. And then that will go out, and those that don't respond in January, they'll get another notice. In February, they get a notice. And those that still haven't responded in March, that's when we would say we're not going to monitor anymore.
Perfect. Yeah.
And then also too, as I said, when the officers are responding, because we aren't probably doing the best job we could be doing, if someone's home, having the information, taking the time, hey, would you like one of these CPTED evaluations of your home for security reasons? We'll be working on that as well.
Thank you.
So there are two, I think, very big issues here. One is we implemented a fee structure where people had to pay an initial fee and then a reduced annual fee. And the reason that we did that was to try to decrease the number of false alarms. And we put into place a fairly, what we thought was aggressive cost process for people who had 4 and more false alarms. And that program has not resulted in reduced false alarms. That's, I think, a pretty significant data point. The second data point is in connection with that annual bill, we did exactly what Elizabeth is requesting. And that we've done for 2 or 3 years now, which is to ask people for information. And I'm sure that that's resulted in some number of the 1,500 people responding, but it's not it's not over 50%, which is shocking, but that's the way it is. So now, based on your review, you're suggesting in option B that we no longer charge that initial or annual fee because that's an administrative burden and it hasn't resulted in any benefit. I understand that and I support that. I didn't understand that option B included that if people get an initial notice, second notice, and a third notice, and they don't respond by the third notice, that we will stop monitoring them. I didn't realize that because I thought that the administrative challenge to us having dispatchers remove people from the monitoring list or then put them back on once they decide to provide the information was a direction that we wanted to go. I actually think it's a good threat to tell people that we won't monitor them if they don't give us the information. I do think Eric's suggestion about sending them the current information that we have rather than just the blank form and saying, give us your current information, that might result in a greater response because if it's bad information that they get, they are going to, well, whoever reads it is going to respond. I don't know how much administrative cost that would incur, but I think it's a good suggestion. So let me, one final point. The one thing I have a real problem with is where we have our 10 to 15 residents who have 4 and more false alarms. only 25% of those are paying the fees that we send them. I have a real problem with that. So I feel very strongly that whatever we do, we need to send any account that hasn't paid their fee for 60 days has to go to collections. And you say in the staff report that there's possible community concern about responses to us sending something to collection. I think that's ridiculous. I mean, if somebody's had 4 false alarms and we're spending X thousands of dollars on every one of their false alarms, that they're not covering with the fee that we're charging them, and they're not paying the fee, it should go to collection. And I think that a vast majority of residents would support that. I don't think, I mean, of course, the people who are going to collection aren't going to support it, but too bad. I think that most residents would support that because, and I do think that managing the alarms the way that we do is beneficial to the town, both in terms of relationship building, like you addressed, and in terms of safety. So I think it's important that Atherton does that. It's a key component of our relationship, of our community service relationship to our residents. So I'm fine with option B, including the notice or the removal of people from monitoring after 3 times that they don't respond. But if with the false alarms where people aren't paying those fees after 4 false alarms, they have to go to collection after 60 days.
Just a follow-up question, because yeah, I know that you said that we should send out the notice and say, is this information, this is the information we have on file now, is this correct? How difficult would that be to put that into mailers? Because it's an individual mailing letter to a specific resident, and not a mass mailing that you get, everybody's address already put on the outside of the paper.
Well,
the envelope.
but there's a security issue with doing it in the mail. That's why I wanted it to be on the
Right,
website.
yeah, I don't see that that's possible.
Yeah, well, if it's.
Why don't we let staff make a recommendation?
They can come back with a recommendation and tell us what they would like to do.
Okay, yeah.
Like,
I think the security issue is a real one. If it's in the mail, we do have mail theft that goes on.
Right.
and
Yes.
That's a concern if we're mailing back their personal private information.
Yeah.
Their emergency contact information.
And I
that
didn't
could be
at all mean that. I wanted it on a website or
And we don't mail back the form that we have.
Yeah.
And so just to clarify, first off, thank you for your support of going to collections. We talked a lot about that internally, and we will have the mechanism in place with finance. And with the notifications, there's several sets that go out. So in December, when we're starting the process for the next year, a letter from myself explains the whole issue about the alarms and the importance of the form and the forms included, and to send it in. And so once we receive those, dispatch does their thing and is updating their CAD system. And when we don't receive a response from those we have listed as a previous permit, then another letter goes out, separate letter from myself to them directly, not the mass letter, again, explaining why we need the information. As we're getting false alarms, dispatch, they've been doing it for years. They have a postcard that goes out for the alarm just to remind them, basically like, we were here, and this is the issue that we have. And in that postcard, again, it says, if we don't have your personal information, please contact dispatch. So we're trying to put all those different mechanisms in place to gather what we can.
The only thing I would add to that idea is that when you're going to a place and and it's the 3rd time you've been there, that needs to be a different card. So that card says, by the way, this is the 3rd time, the next one will be a $400 fee. So that hard stop right there, and that sort of like, oh, wait a minute, this one's different, might also make something happen differently too.
Probably red,
Yeah.
danger.
I do think that there's a good reason to do what Eric suggested, which is send out a notice on a 6-month basis rather than the annual notice, which probably is more likely to get thrown away, that says, over this last 6 months, we've had this many alarms that we've responded to, and this many are false. And if you have a false alarm, you can call the police department and stop us from coming out. I mean, use your language for that, but I think that's important information to convey to and you could say, and of, like you've said to us, of this many alarms, so many were stopped, the police were stopped because they were false. But I think that information would be helpful.
Good suggestions, and we'll work on that internally and come back to you with what our strategic communication plan will be.
Right.
I
Bill?
want to make a motion to approve B with, option B with the proviso that we would send collections, send unpaid fees for number 4 and on to collections if they haven't been paid, that we would change to a 6-month notification with information about how to stop false alarm.
But if they haven't been paid in 60 days.
Yeah, 60 days is fine. So we have a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved.
Thank you, Chief.
And just FYI, on your screens there, the last Athertonian newsletter that went out
Yeah, I had this.
does include a full 2-page spread on the residential alarm permit system. This was printed and put together before the council started having these conversations, and it got into the newsletter. So it does include the fee in there, which will change with our fee resolution that you will see in June. But it does talk about the number of false alarms, the number of responses, the penalty fees for false alarms, contacting the police, exactly what we sort of discussed this week.
Is this in the Athertonian?
Yes, you'll get that in your mailbox end of this week.
So is
Okay, I haven't seen this.
is the request for updating your permits, is that going to go out next month? Or are you just going to wait till next January?
I think it might be best to wait until we get to the new process.
Right.
Okay.
wait till we get to the-
I'm fine, just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Right, like I said, and again, I appreciate your comments. Since I've been here almost 9 years, this has been like a topic of, it's just an issue.
Yeah.
We won't give up on it, and we'll continue to make it positive.
There's one other angle that you might want to think about, and that's it's help Atherton Police save $70,000 a year. So, not only the penalty side, but also the get involved to help us save money.
You're still paying for it.
I know, but
They're not getting a rebate on their property tax.
I know.
Okay, we're
Come
moving on to item number 8, which is consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing remote participation for subsidiary bodies pursuant to Senate Bill 707.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor and members of the council.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
SB 707 establishes a framework under which subsidiary bodies can meet entirely remotely with a couple of limited exceptions. The exception is staff must still have a physical presence that's listed on the agenda. We would use the council chambers for that. And that council member liaisons must also participate in person or list their location on the agenda pursuant to standard Brown Act procedures. It applies to subsidiary bodies for the town's purposes, the Environmental Programs Committee, the Transportation, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Committee, and the Park and Rec Committee. It doesn't apply to the Planning Commission since they make decisions on land use issues, and it doesn't apply to the Audit and Finance Committee because within their charter, it covers budget recommendations. So those two are exempted under the law. And then it does have a few other caveats if you adopt the resolution this evening, that the eligible members of the subsidiary body must try to meet with their cameras on. And that if there are recommendations that are put forward from a subsidiary body, those recommendations are heard by the city council at the next regular meeting and then taken action on at the following regular meeting. And that's basically the way the law is put together. The council can have a conversation around some interpretations of the particular sections of the law with the city attorney. But if you adopt the resolution this evening, it would apply to those 3 bodies I mentioned, and you'd have to renew that permission every 6 months by making the same or similar findings.
I'm okay. The fact that we,
Comments? I don't have questions.
yeah, the fact that we get to look at it every 6 months makes it For me, it's straightforward.
Bill?
Yeah, so my comments are essentially two. One is, I didn't see in the bill that there was any notification. So you'd come to the meeting, you turn on the screen, and now suddenly you don't know if somebody's going to show up or not. Maybe they're going to show up here, maybe they're going to show up there, but you don't know. So that's one issue that I have with it. Secondly, I can see, staff member and the council member sitting here in a semi-darkened room with nobody else here. And so I think that there's value to having people come. If they can't make it, and they can give you 3 days notice, we can go ahead and, they would be exempt from being here, but they would have just like any of us. And so I think that the current rules per the Brown Act apply. So I'm not in support of implementing 707 the way that it's here for the two reasons that I brought. I just don't think, I understand that people were thinking that, hey, this may make this more attractive to people who want to be on our committees, but our committees are full right now anyway. So I just don't see that it's a need at this point in time. And for the two reasons I brought up, I'm not supportive of it, so I'm not going to vote.
I'll make a comment. So I question whether we should adopt this for a different reason than Bill questioned. I think this is being proposed because of the convenience that people experienced during the pandemic when all of our meetings were online. And people found that there was much higher attendance at the meetings because it was so much more convenient to be at a meeting online than to be in person. There's something you lose in the camaraderie of people together. And I think our advisory committees that are subject to this could lose that, because I think what Bill says is very possible that all or nearly all of the advisory committee members would be online rather than coming in person. But the reason I'm concerned about it is that the literal interpretation of the law, as I understand it from our council, is that if we adopt this and make it possible, then anytime a subsidiary body makes a recommendation to the council, whether they use the remote participation or not, but any item that is recommended to the council cannot be acted on by the council at the next meeting. It has to be heard, it can be discussed, but it can't be acted on. It requires a second meeting for an action to occur, even if that remote participation wasn't used at all. And I mean, that's going to mean that there's a delay.
45 days.
I mean, at least a month if it's another month, if the council meets every month. So for August, if it came up in July, it would be 2 months, and that's 2 months after that body has met. So I think, I mean, I know there's some different interpretations of the law, and it may be, and I understand from our council that given that this is a new law, the issue of interpreting whether that two-step process is required only when the remote activity is utilized, or if it's required anytime after the council would adopt 307, that's going to be worked out. Okay. And I think that's reasonable way to look at it. But if we adopt it tonight, it means that it's going to require 2 meetings to be able to act on a recommendation from any of these subsidiary bodies.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Mayor, for your opinion on this. And I know it's very hard to understand, and you made it seem really clear. From my perspective, I see that with large bodies such as CCAG or the Airport Roundtable, where you have not, you know, maybe like 20 board members, right? And they're living far away from the main meeting site. This would apply in a much more sane way, I think, much more. And I think that's where it came from, to kind of accommodate those people from having to, you know, drive over the hill and, you know, meet at one central place. For our town, I totally agree with your analysis that it's probably a cumbersome way to do business. And for our committee members who are locally here, it shouldn't be a hardship to get to a meeting. So, and 707, I just don't know that it really fits our town.
So I have a quick question.
Let me,
Go ahead.
just, if I can
Can you respond to me, please?
So a second provision in this act, and there may be more than two, that is unclear, is that the act is explicit that if you're an elected, you have to be in person. So, and so for Peninsula Clean Energy, which is where I looked at this previously, because we adopted
707.
707. The interpretation from PCE's counsel was that because the board of Peninsula Clean Energy is all elected who are appointed to the PCE board, just as they are to the Airport Roundtable or CCAG, that those, even though those electeds are appointed because they are there by virtue of the fact that they're electeds, that they can't take advantage of the remote participation.
I see. So it's just the unelected, non-elected community volunteers.
Right. Essentially, yeah. So it applies to our advisory committee. If there's anyone on the round table that isn't elected, it would apply to that person.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I don't know if that interpretation is accurate, and we haven't talked to Mona about that issue, but
that is a correct, that's generally correct. SB 707 says that an elected official serving as a member of an eligible subsidiary body in their official capacity shall not participate in a meeting of the eligible subsidiary body by teleconferencing, unless the teleconferencing complies with another section, which is the traditional teleconferencing rules. So there is an exception, but you have to, you know, follow traditional teleconferencing. The general rule is that the elected official participates in person along with the staff member.
So I have a question of situation I know of on the Environmental Programs Committee right now. There's one individual that always shows up remotely. He's very senior and so he comes in because he's, it's just better for the way he is. So without implementing 707, can he still participate or not?
Yes.
Yes.
The
Remotely?
Everybody
The
knows.
The agenda is
traditional-
always noticed for him to
But
participate.
he's not.
All right, so
but
that,
it has to comply with the traditional section of the Brown Act, right? That
Correct.
his location be included in the agenda and he post the door of his residence or wherever he is meeting from, the agenda for the meeting.
okay, I don't know that he does that now.
I don't know whether he posts, but
Yeah.
it's on there. that
Right.
he-
All right, very good.
There's
As long as he can continue to participate, I am fine with not doing 707.
There's also an exception under the Brown Act if a member has a disability. They can participate by teleconference, and if they do that, and you and I can talk, you know, offline about this, but if you do that, then there are relaxed standards for teleconferencing too. So there are multiple ways of teleconferencing.
And he's always on camera, by the way, too. So, all right.
But I think that should always be a requirement,
disappears if he-
that you're on camera, you can't just participate.
Right. I
The
would
camera
say
off.
that if we're not going up there, we could have pushback from our committee members really looking forward to be able to participate fully remotely without having to Brown Act application.
It's back any.
Yeah.
You can always bring it back if we find that people say, Well, I'm off the committee. I don't want to be on the committee.
Did you take any public comment?
Not yet. I will take public, any public comment?
There's nothing online.
And the resident room is indicating that she has public comment. So.
I guess there's no
close public
action.
Comment,
Well, we have to give directions to staff, right?
We're taking no action.
Right, that's our direction.
No action.
the table it.
No, I'm just saying the direction to staff is that we indicate that we don't.
We're
want
not
to
going to
take
implement it at this time,
Right.
but we may come back and want to reconsider it.
Do we need a motion on that, Mona?
We do not.
No.
Okay, good.
I got
Motion
it.
to adjourn.
I got a report.
Yep, we have council reports. I know
For
that.
anybody who loves green eggs and ham, I'm reading it next Tuesday at the library at 10:30.
Thank you.
All right.
Sam I
Councilmember
am,
Ritter.
that's Sam I am.
Oh, I love it.
Right.
Love it. Okay.
Let me know when you do all the places you'll go.
Other
In a box,
reports?
with a
Have no
box, in a
report.
house with a mouse.
Report.
No,
Do you not attend any committees?
I've been out of town.
Okay.
Uh,
No, okay.
There was something that was.
Thank you
To
for the
adjourn.
meeting.
Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you very much. That was a very quick meeting. Thank you.
Nice